Hey, I got thrown. Where's Mark? Hey guys, how are you? You're watching Drinks, Jokes, and Storytelling, and Mark fell off. Okay, great. I'm Richie Byrne. I will be hosting today. It's a great show. We just lost Mark.
As soon as the theme song started, I got kicked off.
Dude, I have been a comedian for over 30 years. I get in front of people for a living. I've been a warm-up act for almost 15 years. I get up in front of people completely cold. But for some reason, when I don't have you on here, I come completely apart.
I'm your better half.
I can't. I'm like, I can't do this without Mark. Where's Mark?
Richie, you're my work husband.
How are you, buddy?
I'm good. I got to tell you, man, I'm really excited. Not just because we have a great guest today,
but we have a lot to talk about.
We have so much to talk about, and 2 days from now, the 19th, the film opens, Dark State, which I'm very excited.
Yes,
it's in Austin, Dallas, New York City, LA, Utah, Arizona. We've already had some press give us reviews, and haven't gotten anything negative yet. So. Mostly positive, and I feel very accurate. The reviews have been very accurate, and
that's great, man.
So
I remember working on it. We were working together a lot back then. We were doing gigs and stuff, and
back in the real world before we came here to Narnia and only survive online. But that's the other thing. I feel like the world's opening back up. I've been getting nonstop phone calls for gigs, and I feel like Happy St. Patrick's Day.
And
I've been getting phone calls, and places are opening up, and I mean, my schedule's filling up. It feels like the old days. So there better not be a backlash.
Yeah, I'm getting a few things. I've gotten calls for a few things. I haven't gotten that many calls, so maybe you could tell people to call me when they call you.
Yeah, definitely, dude. The rest of this month is completely packed, and I just filled all of July.
Wow.
I mean, I'm booked up to about the end of July.
That's great, man.
I'm overwhelmed because we haven't been working for like a year, where it's like if we have like 2 spots a month, it's a big deal.
Yeah, no, I know. That's great. All right, listen, it's a great show today.
Yeah.
We have a great guest. Joe Johnson's going to be out later. He is the host of Beatles Brunch, nationally syndicated radio show. He's a huge Beatles guy, and I am a huge Beatles fan, as you know. And when we met him through Gary Allen, thank you, Gary Allen.
Shout out to Gary.
Gary, I know, is watching because he won't shut up on the comments. So, and Gary.
Before we bring out our guest, we have another guest.
Oh, is he here?
We have, yeah.
This is very cool. An old pal. Reached out to this guy. I said, hey, man, we got a Beatles guest on today. You might want to come on. And he said, absolutely. And so let's bring him out now, and let's save our guest. But let's bring him out now. Ladies and gentlemen, one of our favorites on Drinks, Jokes, and Storytelling, the great Rob Bartlett. How about it? Rob Bartlett, ladies and gentlemen.
Look, he's getting dressed up for it.
Yeah.
I'm surprised he just got dressed.
Here's the thing. When we did the telethon, the marathon that we did in January, we told Rob no nipples. That's the one rule. And Rob is dying to show his nipples on stream.
No, I'm actually not, to be honest with you, because nipples are at the end of my breasts, which happen to be D cups. So I prefer not to share those with you.
How are you?
I'm hanging in there. How are you? I got my first shot.
How did it go?
First shot of the vaccine.
Oh, that's right. How was that?
Did you get sick, or?
It was weird. My dick turned purple and started whistling. Is that bad?
That's normal, right?
Okay. I wanted to check because I went online. Nobody said anything about it. So maybe I was just in one.
The weird thing is that happened before you got the shot.
Oh, you know what?
I heard I overheard a couple people talking at the pharmacy, and they were saying if you get sick when you get the first shot, it means you had it before, and if you get sick after the second shot, it means that you didn't get it yet.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's got something, you know. And I heard if it rains the day you get it shot, you don't get sick.
I heard that one too.
If it's a full moon, you get sick. I mean, everybody's got some crazy conspiracy theory.
Well, I don't watch TV or listen to the radio or read news outlets, so I'm just going off of what I hear.
That's good. That's good for a comedian who really should, you know, be writing material on stuff that's happening in the world. It's good you don't do any of those things. And yet you're booked through July. This is what I can't figure out. God only knows. God only knows.
You and I are sitting home reading the news while Mark's getting booked all over the place.
You two are just anomalies. What can I say?
I feel like if I read the news, I would have jumped out a window.
Well, you know, why should you be the only one who doesn't, you know?
Right. On the first floor, you'll be all right.
By the way, Richie, I want commission on that money that you won playing poker.
Yeah. We'll talk about that later.
Okay. All right.
Yes, Rob, thank you. I will send you $14.90. I'll send you 10%.
Hey. 15.
A gig's a gig.
Oh, we're rolling up. Okay.
Should we bring Tom out to explain to everybody how to switch over to Twitch, and then we'll switch over and bring out our super special guest?
Yeah. But let's bring Tom out, and then come on out, Tom. Our guest is backstage going, what the hell? I guess Tom's not coming out. Hi, Tom.
Hey, guys. I apologize. I'm having camera issues right now, but it's so good to see everybody.
I like this much better.
Yeah.
The vibrating logo. It's like talking to HAL 9000.
This is low budget Max Headroom.
Open the pod bay doors, Tom.
So great. We appreciate everybody coming out here with us. And if you are on the Facebook side right now, we would love for you to cross on over to Twitch with us. All you have to do is go on over and just type in your browser www.twitch.tv/drinks, jokes, the letter N, storytelling, so you can partake in this interview. Not only do we have the amazing Rob Bartlett, but we also have Joe Johnson from Beatles Brunch. We have so much Beatles trivia, and I think the best comment of the day, we're going to give away a subscription to the channel.
Oh, that's right. We are.
Yes.
So we're going to be switching over. Now,
what is that address again?
www.twitch.tv/drinks, jokes, the letter N, storytelling. So really I'm going to put that up here in a banner underneath just so everybody can see it.
Yeah, that'd be good.
That'd be great.
And then you guys can make your way on over. Best comment. I feel like Rob's going to just dominate the best comment category. We're going to have to give him the subscription to the channel.
Of course. You kidding me? There's something at stake.
I like it.
My competitive side comes out.
So we're going to be switching over to Twitch. So guys, please, if you're watching us on Facebook, please switch over. It's really easy. It's not hard. It doesn't cost anything. But as we switch over, we show a video, and here's the video we're showing today. And Mark, I'm a little embarrassed because back when the pandemic started, I came up with this idea to take some Beatles songs with Rob going.
Look at Rob is so good at impressions. He's doing a Tom impression.
Yeah.
Almost exactly the same thing.
I wanted to bail before this happens.
This is why I'm scared. So I grabbed some friends of mine who have a bluegrass group, and we've been putting out Beatles songs and doing it as a parody with what's going on in the pandemic today. And our first song was I Can't See Her Face. Our second song was 6 Feet From You, which Rob saw from me to you and hated and gave me a lot of crap for. And this one is to the tune of I just blanked on the song. That's how nervous I am. To the tune of I Want to Hold Your Hand. It's Why Won't You Wear a Mask? So we're going to switch over with that, and Rob can feel free to knock me for it later. So
2, 3.
Oh yeah, tell you something. Hey, that's something. Why won't you wash your hands? Why won't you wash your hands? You better wash your hands. Oh, geez, did you just sneeze? What do I have to ask? And please, don't want disease. Why won't you wear a mask? Why won't you wear a mask? You better wear a mask. And when I touch you, I feel crappy in my mind. It's such a feeling that my gloves I can't find, I can't find, I can't find. Yeah, you gave me something when I drank from your flask. Now I got that something. I gotta wear a mask. I gotta wear a mask. I gotta wear a mask. And when I touch you, I feel crappy in my mind. It's such a feeling that my clothes I can't find, I can't find, I can't find. Yeah, you gave me something when I drank from your flask. Now I got that something. I gotta wear a mask. I gotta wear a mask. I gotta wear a mask. I gotta wear a mask.
Hey, Richie Bird. Oh, Rob's gonna. Hey, Rob, song's over.
Is it finally? I got a question. And when I touch you, I feel what now? What is that? I feel crappy inside. Okay.
In my mind.
Oh, in my what?
In my mind.
In my mind. I feel crappy in my mind. It's such a feeling that my gloves I can't find.
Exactly. And my gloves, but he wrote it wrong.
But regardless, either way, it doesn't make any sense. When I touch you, I feel crappy in my mind. It's such a feeling that my gloves I can't find. Where's the logic here?
It's called comedy. It's called
I'll put it to you this way. It's first of all, bluegrass is not the word that immediately leaps to mind when I think Beatles. You know,
No,
it's like,
but it was the only band I had handy during the band.
I understand.
No, I mean, Zeppelin wasn't showing up, Rob. I don't know what to tell you.
I would have preferred that you destroyed the Zeppelin rather than the Beatles. That's just personal.
Can I introduce our guest, Rob?
What's that?
I'm going to introduce our guest.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that, you know,
Thank you.
A couple quick notes before we get to the guest.
If people really want, you know, to see a Beatles parody about COVID, they should wander over to the Rob Bartlett Radio Comedy Hour YouTube channel, where we all live in Corona quarantine.
Oh, genius.
I'm not saying, I'm just saying.
Well, we'll have to put the link in the comments.
There's nary a mandolin to be found. All right, I'm very excited. Introduce Joe.
Guys, I am so excited to have our guest, our special guest on today. He's the host of Beatles Brunch nationally. He's here with us today. Give it up for Joe Johnson. How about it, Joe Johnson?
Hey, I want to tell that group, the Unloved Spoonful, how great they were back there with that song.
I love
They
this.
were awesome.
How are you, brother?
Everything? I'm great, man. It's good to be back playing around with you guys. I'm really looking forward to the time here. I did hear a little bit before. Mark, you said you're booked up through July. Is that right?
Yeah.
I'm booked up through 4 o'clock. So if you guys have anything you want to throw my way.
Joe, this is Rob Bartlett. Rob actually was in radio too. He was on the Imus show for 30 years. 31
Wow. Fantastic. Yeah, everybody I know used to be in radio. So that's because now it's all voice tracks and all that time shifted stuff. So
I listen to your program, Joe. I'm a fan.
Oh, thanks so much, Rob.
Because you know your stuff.
Well, I don't play any bluegrass on the show yet, but I may add some this week.
Revolution #9 is especially good. The bluegrass band.
On a jug bottle. What are they called? Number 9.
Revelry.
So anyway, Joe, a few things before we're going to talk about the Beatles, but we start every show we're called Drinks, Jokes, and Storytelling. We start every show with a drink, especially today being March 17th. And I want to thank you guys all for wearing green. Jesus Christ.
Hey, just be happy I didn't wear orange.
I know. Jody, what are you drinking?
I'm eating soda bread.
There you go. What are you drinking, Joe?
I'm just drinking water, but it also, this cup doubles in case I have to leave a sample. Okay. So I've got.
You're prepared.
I'm ready. I can go either way.
This is going to be a long show, I think.
Oh, well, that's why I got it here below.
You can finish your drink, fill it up, not have to get up.
It's recycling to today's standards.
In honor of you not drinking for Lent, I thought I'd stick with it. I'm doing seltzer, orange cream.
Since we've gone to Twitch, Joe, since Mark and I, the big thing about this show was the drink.
Yeah.
And since we've gone to Twitch for the last 6 weeks or whatever, Mark and I have been so bad about the drinks, and that was the whole point of this. But I think for Lent, and today's 40. Today's 29 days for me, which is amazing. What are you drinking there, Papa Bear?
Irish coffee.
Are you? Someone has alcohol.
Keeping with the theme. He's got it going on for St. Patrick's Day.
Bartlett doesn't let you down.
I have my go-to now, my Diet Coke, because I don't want people to think I'm too white. So I got Diet Coke. Because I'm woke.
I gotta say though, Richie, we saw a clip of you from the middle of us doing this. You lost a ton of weight, so the not drinking has agreed with you.
I've lost 15 pounds in 4 weeks since I started not drinking. So, and all of it's been in my face. Like everything else is the same. I've just got this little head now. That's just.
Who doesn't love a little
head? Yes.
Yeah.
See what he did there, Joe? It was a little. That's what qualifies as killing for so.
He's killing in the room.
What's his closer?
And I love Rob comes on and just hates every second of being on with you and I.
He writes me these great texts after. What a great time I had. Thanks for inviting me. Have me back anytime. But while he's on, he's like, this is the worst piece of crap.
We don't need to peek behind the curtain, do we, Bern? I mean, why don't I just tell all the punchlines to your act while we're at it?
You won't have to.
3. Burrito in the house.
Hey,
very cool. So, Joe, we also do a joke, and I think you have one. Do you have a joke for us today?
Well, it's a joke, but it's kind of about me because I'm very obsessive compulsive, and you can't see my studio here, but I collect everything by the Beatles. I mean, and especially the albums, and it gets pretty crazy when you start collecting the albums. I know that I'm obsessive compulsive with collecting the albums. I have every one of them, except I think I need some help. I need help. That's the one. But I don't know. Should I get the U.S. version or should I get the U.K. version? I don't know. The George Martin mix.
Joe, it's funny you threw that in because and I'm sure you meet a lot of people like this. I love when I meet the Beatles fans who like poo-poo the American versions of the albums, like to the point where you're like, it's okay. It's still the songs. Like, you know what I mean? Like, oh no, I have With the Beatles. I would never even, if Meet the Beatles is even in my room, I'll leave. I won't go near me.
The funny thing is that growing up in America, I didn't know about With the Beatles till, you know, the CDs came out in the 80s. You know, I didn't really know about it that much, you know?
Yeah. I think it's interesting. The thing that gets me about the Beatles is, and I don't think any other group did this, where they would put out an album, but in the meantime, they're being told, yeah, we need more content, so we're going to put out a small 4-song
EP, yeah.
EP, right? EP, and then or they'll just put out one record, and both sides are A-sides. Like, who else did that in their? I mean, you can't imagine the amount of material that went out in that 7-year period, from 63 to 70, or 8-year period. It was just. I've never seen anything like it. Usually someone puts out an album, takes a couple of songs from the album, puts them out as a single, and that's it. The Beatles had all kinds of crazy ways that Capitol was putting them out, you know, and it just blows my mind.
And can you imagine if we had downloading and file sharing and mixing and computers and editing, what they would have done? I mean, you know, they probably could have made Sgt. Pepper in a weekend. You know, without digital editing, you know.
Well, that was the reason for the Butcher cover, wasn't it? It was like their protest against the way Capitol was cutting up all their material.
Yeah, it was kind of their silent protest, and they thought it was pretty artistic. But then, as you know, it got recalled back in. And actually, I have one on my wall back there. It's a paste over though, so I have the one where they put that boring picture of them in their white and black picture.
Yeah, and they I think it's amazing. Like this is what blows me away. Like when they finished A Hard Day's Night, they were done, and Paul and John were pretty much burnt out. They were making the movie and doing the album and doing touring and everything. And they said, "Listen," and they were going to call it Four Arms. No, the Help was Four Arms to Hold You.
Right? Eight arms to hold
you.
Eight
arms.
Well, so right. So
4 sets of arms.
They said we need one more song. And they went in a room and like wrote A Hard Day's Night like in one night,
right?
Like a classic song. Oh, thank you, Tom. There you go. Yeah. That's yesterday and today. You know, like things like that about them blow me away. Like, who else does that? Who goes in a room and goes, "Yeah, okay, here's a classic."
And not only that, but turned out to be their biggest songs, like "Hey Jude" and "Revolution" were not on the White Album. They were just a single. Yeah. Strawberry Fields, Penny Lane, not on an album. I mean, you talked about the singles. They felt, you know, McCartney's given interviews where he said, "I hated getting ripped off as a kid. I would buy an album of Little Richard, and he was on one track." He says, "There's all this orchestration, Buck Ram and his orchestra, and Little Richard was on one track." And they hated that. So they said, "We're going to give value." But I mean, they couldn't have done it if they didn't have the voluminous output of original material either, though.
Right. I have a question for you guys, because you guys are all very well versed in Beatles, and you guys are very deep in the Beatles. What's your favorite cover that somebody has done of one of their songs?
Oh, I thought you meant album cover.
You meant album cover too, which was a great question too.
The White Album.
Favorite cover.
Aretha Franklin's Eleanor Rigby's pretty good.
Yeah. Let me see who else does covers. Well, there's a ton of cover bands, you know, like the Smithereens and these other bands, the Fab Four and others. You know, when you said covers, I like the Beatles doing covers. I like the Beatles doing Slow Down. I mean, that's like one of my favorites. You know, that kind of thing.
You know what? There's a song by Harry Nilsson. He does I Call Your Name.
I Call Your Name. Okay.
But it's just him. There's a little bit of music behind him, but it's mostly his voice. And he puts in, I think, 26 other Beatles songs behind it. It's really incredible.
Wow.
Isn't that, you can't do that?
You can't do that. Sorry. You're right. You can't do that.
Yeah. But I thought of one that I like, a cover that I like, and I'm probably going to get kicked off the show for this. Celine Dion does a version of Here, There, and Everywhere, which is spectacular. George Martin produced that album of the wacky versions with Jim Carrey and Robin Williams and all of them. And he put Celine Dion doing Here, There, and Everywhere.
Oh, that's right. I remember that album. Yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah. That was like his last album. Rob's having a heart attack over that choice.
Now, is this going Beatles hack for me that I like Hey Jude by Elvis? I think that.
Really?
Really?
That's like my favorite one.
I didn't realize he even did Hey Jude.
No, me neither.
Oh, it's so good.
No, 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 no.
He
Oh,
does
right.
the whole time he's all laid back Elvis, and then he gets to the end and he's like Jude, Jude, and Jude, and Jude, and Jude, and Jude.
You would have thought a better tune for Elvis to pick would have been "Thank you, girl, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, girl."
Thank you, girl. That's it. I do find most covers of the Beatles suck.
Well, there's a George Martin tribute album where it's all Beatle covers. And one of the ones is In My Life, and it's just recited as a poem by Sean Connery.
Yeah.
And it's so great. It's very, very moving.
Well, you know what I like? I like Aerosmith's Come Together.
Yeah,
That's
fantastic.
not bad.
Yeah.
That's not bad.
Well,
Yeah.
what about Captain Kirk's "Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds"?
It's not as good as his MacArthur Park, I have to say.
Mr. Tambourine Man. Remember? Did you ever hear his Mr. Tambourine
I
Man?
think. Unfortunately, I bought his CD. Rich, you have to have. It's obsessive compulsive. I got to have everything.
Rocket Man is pretty good too.
Yeah, it is.
I'm a Rocket Man.
And what's your very first memory of hearing the Beatles?
You talking to me?
Everybody.
Oh, everybody.
Round table.
Okay. For me, All My Lovin', I remember hearing that as a little kid before the Sullivan, or right around that same time. I think the thing with the Sullivan Show, I was like 6 years old, and we only had one TV, so everybody had to watch that. So there's Ed Sullivan in my New York. But so I have a vision, a memory of that. But I wish I was old enough at the time to like wanting to pick up a guitar, because it didn't do that to me like it did a lot of musicians. But yeah, I guess that period, All My Lovin', probably.
Interesting. For me, and I've told this story. I'm not going to tell the whole story, but my dad came home from work one day, and a customer had given him 2 albums. One was the Monkees' first album, and the other was Meet the Beatles. And I was 6, maybe. And I put that album on, and I heard the opening, I Want to Hold Your Hand, was the first song on that. And just hearing that, bam, 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 that was it for me. I was set for life. I knew it. I knew who my band was.
How about you, Rob?
I got a copy of Meet the Beatles for my 6th birthday. It had just come out. And
Really?
Yeah. And I just distinctly remember putting it on and listening. And, the only song I really knew was I Want to Hold Your Hand, because that was the only one that was getting, most of the airplay at the time. And I just remember the harmonies just bored into, they just like burn. I never heard anything like that before in my life. Like in Little Child and This Boy, to the harmonies, it won't be long. The end, the trademark Beatle chord at the end, I mean, it's just all that stuff was just like, it just kind of, it reverberated through, forever changed. I mean, there's life before Beatles, life after Beatles. It changed everything.
Yeah. Even the backing vocals were unique. Just everything they did was unique to them.
Well, it's, the jazz chords, they use a lot of jazz chords, which I think is partially because I think John's Aunt Mimi, was it Mimi who taught him how to play?
She taught him how to play, and his mother taught him a little banjo, but it was McCartney whose father was in a band, a Jim Mack band. And in fact, their picture looked like Sgt. Pepper with the guy standing here on it.
I think it was Mimi's husband, George Smith, who taught John.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. What I used to do when I got a stereo system, and if you bought the American albums, the vocals were on one side and the music on the other. Right. I would always turn it over to one side to try to hear, or unplug one of the speakers or whatever to try to hear just the instrument, or just the karaoke, or just the vocal.
The mono reprocess for stereo trick.
Yeah, those they did that. Yeah, that's.
You know what I always hated? When you were in a bar and one of their speakers would be out, and you only hear that, you're like, I can only hear like Paul, or I can only hear, it's so funny that.
Imagine being a bartender in that bar, and that's the only way you know the Beatles. And then when people start singing, you go, "What the hell are you talking about? That's not how it goes. There's no lyrics on it. It's instrumental."
You know, I actually brought a Beatles joke because I know you're supposed to bring a joke.
Yeah.
How many Beatles does it take to change a light bulb?
How many?
Four. John has to come up with the light bulb. Paul has to claim half the light bulb. George has to complain that his light bulbs are never considered. And Ringo to actually change the light bulb.
So, Joe, tell us, how'd you get involved in all this? I know you said you did stand up for a while.
I did, yeah. I did stand up at the comic strip Fort Lauderdale. I did the comic strip in New York once, but yeah, I did it. I enjoyed it. I used to go out. They would let me jump up in between acts, you know, and that kind of thing. So I did that, and then I actually wrote 3 jokes for Jay Leno when he used to fill in for Carson.
Really?
And, before he got the gig, yeah, a friend of mine was submitting jokes to. He used to write for Joan Rivers, and he also wrote for Leno when he was doing his fill-ins. And I can remember one of my jokes. It was right around the time of Leona Helmsley was getting arrested, and she was in jail. And he actually used the joke, and I was freaking out. And the joke is like, "Hey, you hear Leona Helmsley? They're coming out with the Leona Helmsley doll. It's so lifelike when you buy it, you don't have to pay tax." Yeah, I started to think like Leno, and the other one I wrote was it was when Dick Clark retired and Reagan was leaving office. He goes, "Well, Ronald Reagan is leaving office, and Dick Clark's retiring. Well, with those two retiring from the jobs, the Grecian formula people had to lay off 1,000 workers. You know."
That's pretty good Leno too.
Yeah, I was thinking like him when I wrote the joke. I would never do that.
That's
joke.
a good impression.
Thanks.
Hey,
so I started doing stand up, and the guy that was writing jokes, his brother owned a club in Miami called Uncle Funny's, and so I would MC, and MC was the greatest gig because you only need bits of material. I mean, you need a little bit on the front end, but you could come up and do a line between all the open micers. I was like MCing the open micers, so there were like 12 people up there. And most of them sucked. So, you know, your material was like about how bad they were, you know, when they would leave the stage. So
was stand up where you wanted to go, or was it just something you thought, let me try this? And
I didn't know if I was going to do it for a living because I already had a job in radio, full-time in radio and all that stuff. So,
oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah. But I liked doing it. I mean, I started in like in the 80s, you know, like in 82, 84, something like that. Did it for about 10 years. So I would just jump up, or if I was on a cruise, I would ask the cruise director, "Hey man, can I do like 10 minutes and stuff like that?" They were scared about that because they were afraid I was going to do like really nasty material. But I never understand. Back then it was like, do you remember back in the 80s for stand-up, or the early 90s, 80s, there was every channel had a brick wall and a microphone. You know, everybody wanted to get on TV. And I would say, if you want to get on TV, you know, you can't really do that kind of blue, super hardcore blue material. You know, you really had to have something. So I tried to be clean. You know? But
it's funny that you're talking about the comic strip. This Friday, we're giving a little shout out to the comic strip. The owner passed away. Yeah, and we're going to do a little tribute show Friday to the comic strip and to Richie Tinkin. So it's kind of cool that you also worked the strip.
Yeah, we're doing.
Did Richie tell you Eddie Murphy's stories even back then?
No, you got an Eddie Murphy. Yes,
not me, the owner, Richie Tinkin had.
Oh, Rich. Oh, okay. Yeah,
actually, Rob worked with Eddie Murphy back in the day.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, he was one of the guys that started at Richard M. Dixon's White House Inn. He was 17.
Wow.
And I used to drive him to gigs. We formed a group with Bob Nelson, very funny comedian, Bob Nelson. We were the Identical Triplets, and we would do our separate acts, and then we'd also do like little improv sketches and stuff in between. We did that for a while. Matter of fact, my first road gig, and I think Eddie's first road gig, was the comic strip in Fort Lauderdale. So we went down together. It was my second time, his first time. And I had found out the night before that Saturday Night Live needed a black guy because the one that they had hired was illiterate, and they didn't discover that until after they'd already hired him.
Right.
And so I told Eddie when we were on the plane, and we weren't on the ground 2 minutes before he was on the phone to Richie Tinkin, you got to get me an audition for Saturday. and they jerked him around for months. Those people at SNL, they kept bringing him back. I don't know. Weeks would go by, he wouldn't hear anything, and then we'd bring him back. I mean, they tortured him. It was really awful what they did to him. And then finally they said, okay, you're a featured player. And he went on and just blew everybody away. And I think within 3 weeks, he was a primetime player.
And didn't they kind of hold him back in the beginning, even once he got the job, right, Rob? He wasn't even.
Yeah, I think the politics were such that everyone was, because he was such a presence, he was such an entity, that he couldn't really, show what he wanted to, but he kind of stood fast and showed him. And then the writers got hip and realized that they could get their stuff on if they wrote for him, and he could do pretty much anything. And so that's how all that started, Wow. His favorite Beatles song was I Am the Walrus, because he loved the meter of the song. He loved the expert, choking, smoke. He loved all that stuff.
Well, that had kind of a rap feel to it too.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
I always thought I've Just Seen a Face could be a rap song. I've just seen a face, I can't forget the time. I mean, it could really be, somebody could make it into a rap tune.
Yeah, absolutely. So how did you get into radio, Joe?
I got into radio when I was a little kid. My dad drove a truck and his job was to go to businesses and fill the vending machines. So, this radio station we used to go to was the top 40 station in Miami, WFUN. And they had a vending machine. So I guess the employees had to pay for coffee and stuff. So we would fill their vending machine. I was like 10. I would go to work with them. And what we did is we would go through their garbage and we'd pull out all these records, and I would take them home. And a lot of them were commercials, like Buick and stuff like that. So I really used to love watching the guy while my dad was working. I'd be looking through the window at the guy on the air. And, I didn't think that you got paid for that. I thought, well, the guy's at 9 o'clock, he's going to go to his job at the bank or whatever, So, and I was right. When I first got in radio, I didn't get paid for like 10 years. It was like first I worked for free. Oh, he's helping me out on the morning show. And then it was like $2 an hour. And then it was like, still part-time, for years. But eventually, then it's like anything. Then you make money, and now I'm back to like not making any money. So it's like, the other side of the curve,
Right.
Full circle.
Yeah, have to have a lot of gigs, the gig economy, as you guys know. So,
and then you die.
Yeah, but I wish I would have pulled it out on my record rack. I won a copy from my favorite station of this red heart-shaped Bobby Caldwell, "What You Won't Do for Love" single. Rob probably knows it, and I won that from them. And when I played it at home, it skipped on my turntable. So I asked if I could bring it back. And I met the program director, and he gave me a new one, and we were talking. And I said, hey, have you got any jobs around here? Anything I could do? So he said, well, go hang out with the morning guy. And we had an AM radio that had buttons on it. And my job was to steal traffic. So each button, and I knew what time, WIOD does their traffic, WINZ at 12 after, traffic and weather on the ones or whatever. I had it all figured out. So I would write down the traffic and bring it in for the guy, and he would read it on the air. You
guys get your own traffic report? You had to steal?
No, man, they were poor. We were poor. So yeah, you steal. I mean, why should we buy a plane? They got 3 of them up there. So and they're not going to give out bad information. I mean, really, hey, we hear there's a guy stealing our traffic reports. Tell him the Palmetto Expressway exploded. See what he does. So
there's a cow in the left lane on I-95.
Exactly. Yeah. So if I report, we actually had 2 stations that were competitive, and one used to steal the football scores, high school football scores, and so the other one found out about it. So they gave out fake high school football scores, and then the other guys would do them, and they would record it and get on the air and say, "Hey, they stole our football scores," Small victories, on the way up, I guess, But anyway, eventually I started working there, and then that guy that was stealing traffic, he ended up getting fired. So 2 guys came in, and we kind of had a morning team going on. So I looked into like doing a morning show team thing for like 10 years in Miami. So it taught me a lot of production skills and song parody things and stuff that we did. So it was fun.
I wish someone would teach me some song parody things, right, Rob?
I think you're beyond help at this point.
You can't do song parodies without a bluegrass band. Bluegrass
Richie,
band.
I don't know if you sent me those or not, but I'm gonna string them together and I'll play them on Beatle Brunch. I think it'd be fun to hear them.
You hear that, Rob?
Oh, for sure, go ahead. Sure. You know,
I will.
I guess ratings don't mean anything in syndication, so I guess
Right.
you can take a chance. You
I'll
know,
make sure
rather
I play the spots first.
right, rather than
In case people tune out.
rather than find a Beatle parody that actually is really clever and funny and well produced.
Rob has
Like-
good ones. Yes, he does. So.
Like, you know, We All Live in Corona Quarantine, which you can see the video for on the Rob Bartlett Radio.
Tom, can we try to pull that by the end of the show so we can play it and we'll let the audience decide.
Well, we were gonna do that. We all live in a Corona quarantine, but we realized it was kind of hacky, so we moved away from it.
I feel crappy in my mind. That
That was just a placeholder lyric, but
yes,
he
exactly.
never got around to unplacing it.
Oh no, John told me it's the best lyric in the song, so I can't.
Oh, it's like the movement you need is on your shoulder. I got it.
It's funny that you should say placeholder because that's kind of the way I look at Richie. He's like a placeholder for an actual comedian.
Wait, 40 minutes into the show, we've talked about the Beatles for like 20 seconds.
Can I give you a few little known facts about the Beatles?
Yes, that would be
Yes.
These are little known facts that I found doing research for today. When the Beatles toured Australia in 1964, Ringo legally changed his name to Dingo. Did you guys know that?
I thought that was a porn star name,
No.
Dingo Star.
Well, maybe he had a second career.
Mark was
Also, on that same trip to Australia, while they were there, the Beatles wanted to visit the Outback. George had the bloomin' onion, and John had the wallaby steak. So, when the people don't know this, when the Beatles visited India in 1968, George Harrison played Twister with Mia Farrow. That's not in the movie, but it's true. Here's one I didn't know this.
Right hand blue.
If you look closely on the cover of Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, you can see George's iPhone sticking out of his pocket. Here's the last one. Nobody knows this. This is true. We were talking about record sales and the Beatles giving you more for their money. In 2015, the Beatles record label Apple accidentally released a 15-second snippet of White Noise on iTunes. Within 2 days, it was #1 in Canada. And those are little-known facts about the beloved Fab Four.
Now, I have an actual little-known fact. It's a great little story. Billy J. Kramer, who was one of the artists that were managed by Brian Epstein, another British invasion, Liverpool, Mercy Beat guy. He was huge. Billy J. Kramer in the Dakotas. And John and Paul used to write songs like Bad to Me, his hit, that was written by John and Paul. From a Window, a couple of his hits were written by John and Paul because that's
You Want to Know a Secret, right? Was the first one, right?
Right, yeah. Matter of fact, he recorded that and put that out before the Beatles even did.
Yeah.
And he so he used to get John he'd go to John's flat to hear what John had for him. John would call Billy would say, I want to come over, and you can write me something, and John would write it like when Billy was in the cab on the way over to the flat. So one day he gets a call from Paul. Paul rings him up, and Paul says, if you want to come over and hear this, I got this song, but I don't think it's right for us. I'll play it for you if you like it. You can have it. And so Billy goes over, and Paul sits him down and gets his guitar, and he plays the song, and Billy listens. He goes, I don't like it, Paul. It's too slow. Do you have any rockers? Paul says, no. He says, walks away, and it was Yesterday.
Wow.
I heard he offered it to the Animals too. I don't know if that's true.
Oh, really? I don't know.
Burden, but yeah.
Billy J. Kramer is actually a dear friend, and he told me that, and I was like, you turned down Yesterday?
Wow.
But I wonder if it would have been a hit by anybody else, because maybe he would have rocked it out, or maybe he would have.
That's an interesting take. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, he did a pretty decent job with Do You Want to Know a Secret? I just don't know.
I mean, that's Rich. We were talking. That's the thing about the Beatles is they weren't just that one band. Then they were a cover band starting out. Then they were a 2-minute pop song. I Love You, She Loves You, and then they got into that Dylan whole period, and then they got into Rubber Soul and Revolver, and then they got into the White Album with all this Out There acoustic and Revolution Number 9 and orchestrations on Abbey Road. And then when they broke up, there were 4 bands. I mean, they were 4 more. It's like they, you break the tail off a lizard, it grows another one.
You look, the body of work in 7 years.
Yeah.
The body of work, what they were able to generate, and not just even the amount of stuff, but the amount of classic, amazing stuff, like genre-changing stuff. It's funny. There, the documentary that Ron Howard did about
8 days a week or whatever.
Right, about all the live performances that the Beatles used to do. And there's a snippet from, I guess they were doing backstage footage, or they were putting together a documentary or something, and they were in the plaza. In the suite in the plaza with everyone. And it's just all the news guys and photographers, whatever. And John is in a corner with a melodica. And this is 1964, February. They had just done the Ed Sullivan Show. And John's fooling around with the melodica, and he's playing this chord progression.
Yeah.
It's Strawberry Fields. It's the chord progression to Strawberry Fields. And
that was the Maisels film, that came out around that a couple of years ago. Yeah.
Funny, Rob. I remember going, oh my God.
It's like
Strawberry Field. Yeah.
It's like on a little recorder kind of a thing.
Yeah. It was on a little melodica, and like 3 years later, it was on it was on a record. It was like,
speaking of that, that movie, 8 Days a Week, which was tremendous.
Yeah.
If it's amazing to watch the interviews with the press from like starting in 63, and how in love the press was with them, and how funny they were. I mean, they were just hysterically funny, all 4 of them.
Yeah.
Just so quick, and you've never really seen that before. I mean, you ever see Elvis in an interview? Like, oh my God, wake up. Even back in the 50s, you're like, well, just, but they were so quick and so funny. But then within like 3 years, how the press kind of turned on them and were attacking them, and you realize that seems to happen in a lot of situations when you're famous, and all you have to do is watch that movie to see. I mean, they dominated the press, and then after about 3 or 4 years, they just had to go at them about everything. I mean, maybe it was when John said we're bigger than Christ or whatever and all that. I don't know what started it, but it just and you see how angry they got as they got older,
He just meant taller.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the thing about celebrity. It's like we like to build them up, and then we like to tear them down.
Yeah.
And if you look at all really, really famous people, that's pretty much how it goes.
Well, can you think of a celebrity who hasn't been torn down? I'm trying to think now. Tom Hanks. There you go.
But they went after him when he got corona.
George Clooney. Well, they didn't go after him. I mean, they didn't
Yeah.
call him a baby killer. I mean, some of the stuff that they'd say or they do to some of these people, it's like.
Well, that's every comedian. Once they have a hit and once they're successful, you just see everybody attack them.
Well, other comedians. Let's be honest. It's just other comedians that attack.
And you don't even have to have success for comedians to start attacking you.
That's right.
Obviously, right, Richie?
I don't know where to. I have something to say here, but it's the worst segue. It sounds like I'm trying to get out of Rob making fun of me.
Speaking of Rob not making fun of you, Richie, do you have a question?
What made you start Beatles Brunch? Where did that come from? How did you take us through?
Well, what happened was I bought a car in '92 Mitsubishi Eclipse. The first car I ever had. It had a CD player and it had like 8 speakers. And I had these. Somebody loaned me these Beatle bootlegs, where they're the ultra rare. I know you know those as well, Rob. And so I'm listening to them in my car on this long ride I had, a couple-hour drive. And I just thought, God, this stuff is so great. This was all I saw her standing there in brilliant stereo and outtakes and studio chatter. And I went to my program director. I said, man, somebody should have a Beatles show in this market, and maybe I'll do one. He goes, okay, make me a demo. So I went in the station on the weekend and I mocked up a demo. And they liked it, so we basically ran that demo on the show, and That was in 1992, May of 1992. And our station, we had 4 other stations they owned, and he was the chief program director. So he commanded that they all of them put it on. He suggested they should run Beatle Brunch. So we started on in 5 stations like Rochester, Indianapolis, Miami, 2 other, Laconia, New Hampshire. And it just grew from there. And then at a certain point, I went to Westwood One in about year 2000. And I pitched them on taking the show, and they did. And it ran with them for like 15 or 18 years. So pretty good.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know about you, Rob, but I'd be on the road for a gig, say like Pittsburgh or something. And we were always coming home on Sundays. And I'm driving home trying to find Beatles Brunch wherever I am in different towns. It was always so cool.
You were home.
Well, yeah. What I'll do, whoever wants it, I built a new website, the Beatle Brunch Club, and people pay to be on it, but I can give you guys accounts, and you can listen to every show on demand. You can download them to your iPhone. You can do whatever you want.
That'd be great.
So I've got the site just opened. I had a different website, but this one just opened in January. So I'm loading shows every day. I'm about 3 years down. And then we have what we call old brown shows, like my very first show where I sound like I'm 12, you know? And so we have old brown shows, and we have the regular shows. So I'll get all your guys' information, and I'll hook you up.
If you're not a Beatles fan, you won't get that. But old brown shows is very clever.
You've been on almost 30 years with that show.
29 years. I started in May of 1992. Yeah.
What's your website?
Brunchradio.com.
Brunchradio.com.
I mean, you can go to BeatleBrunch.com, but BrunchRadio.com is the official name for it. And when they go there, if people there's a lot of interaction you can do without being a member. But if you want to hear the shows, then that's why we do it. You know what happened Rob can tell you as well, is over the years. I mean, I was at an oldie station for 29 years. And when I started there in 87, we were playing music from 57. So that was 30 years ago at the time. Mm-hmm. Now, if you played music from 30 years ago, it's like, 2000 or 1990 or whatever,
Yeah.
So those are the old
music.
It's kind of like the oldies are like 90s music.
Taylor Dane.
Unfortunately, so the stations have all changed format or been sold, and they're owned by different people. So the real pure oldies format, it's really hard to find. So that's why we did the site, so people can listen to the show.
Is that a picture of you with Ringo behind you?
It is. Yeah, that's the. Here's a picture I brought when I helped mix the Free as a Bird.
What?
Yeah, I did that at my photo shop. You may have heard of it.
But the Ringo one's pretty cool.
Yeah, he was doing the All-Star Band at and behind him, that's the guy from Free, the band.
Paul Rogers?
Yeah, I don't think it's Paul Rogers. It's a different guy in the band. But
I would have cropped him out if I were you.
Yeah, I should have. But yeah, we were doing this concert with Ringo at his All-Star Band at this theater down here in Fort Lauderdale, and our station sponsored it, so we were able to go back and hang with it.
I would give my left one to meet one of the Beatles. I mean, it would be.
You never met a Beatle?
No.
Interesting.
No.
You have. I mean, you've interviewed them, right?
I've interviewed Ringo, and I've interviewed Olivia and Yoko, and I did a 25-minute interview in person with McCartney, and I was like completely sweating. This was in Tampa in 2005. They invited me up there, so I drove up to Tampa. It's like 5 hours from here, and the thing is, I was so nervous. I had a mini disc player. It was before the iPhone. And first of all, I left it in the car. So I get to the arena, and I had to go back to my car, get the mini disc player. And I come back, and I'm in the room, and they kicked everybody out. So it was Paul and me, the photographer and the videographer and the manager, the publicist. And I had practiced. I had rehearsed with my mini disc player like 20 times, put new batteries in it. And I turn it on, and it wouldn't turn on. And I'm standing here with Paul McCartney, and I'm thinking, what am I going to do? Am I going to just pretend it's working? Or am I going to ask the photographer, the videographer, can I have your audio? He's probably not going to do that. So I didn't know what to do. And Paul looks at me and goes, oh, your tape recorder's not working, huh? So I went like this, like you would do on it with my fist, and it came on. So very luckily, I was able to do the interview. But it was interesting because they said to me, don't talk about his wife. Don't talk about Heather. Don't talk about Linda. Don't talk about his kids. Don't talk about the Beatles. Only talk about the show and the new album. So, but I knew that he would talk about it. So I said, "Oh yeah, I saw you last night in Miami. You played for 2.5 hours." And I knew well, in the Beatle days, we played for 29 minutes, and we didn't like you at 25 minutes. So I knew he would talk about that, and we talked about songwriting, and he gave me the Hey Jude story and about the movement you need is on your shoulder, and so it was great. And luckily the photographer was a friend of mine, Bill. He's such a good friend. I'm leaving out his last name for his protection. he took a bunch of pictures, and he sent me like 4 incredible pictures with McCartney. And I have this one where Paul's holding a Zephyr Hills bottle because he had just done his sound check, and he had this bottle. So he puts it down, and everybody leaves, and they leave me alone in the room that I was interviewing in. And I see the Zephyr Hills bottle's got like this much water in it. I'm thinking, I wonder if I could clone this and make Beatle Kids or something. So I tightened it up and I threw it in my bag. And a buddy of mine who's a super Beatle freak, he asked me if he could have it. So I sent it to him, and he's got it in his house on a little frame, the Zephyr Hills bottle. It's still got a little bit of water. And then he's got the picture I sent of me and Paul and him holding the Zephyr Hills bottle. So that's like meeting the Beatles like twice removed.
How much is it worth for?
On eBay, yeah, it's $3,000. So
what? I'll give him 4.
Take me through that, because I mean, I don't know that I could interview a Beatle. I don't know that I could, because number one, they were so important, especially Paul. Talking to Paul, and number two, what could you possibly ask them that they haven't been asked a million times over? Like, that's my biggest concern is, oh my God, here we go again with the dumb questions. I should say, you've been asked every question. What question have you ever been asked that you thought, well, that was unique? And Paul turned and went, well, this one is been asked.
Exactly. Well, I wrote my questions down, and I wrote about the new album and different songs, but I would say, wow, that song reminds me of George or something. And then he would tell a story, so I kind of wrote it so that he would trip into, tripping the live fantastic into what I needed. But it was good. I didn't have to really prod him. I know with Ringo, if you talk about it, he'll go, yeah, I was in the Beatles. I know it. Come on. What else? Come on. He'll hurry you along. Paul was very gracious and very calm. He would wait while you talked, and then he would speak. It's like he was just really awesome. And, and I also did, Rob probably knows this trick. I had liners that I wanted him to read for Beatle Brunch. So I wrote it this way. Hi, this is Paul McCartney, and I'm listening to Beatle Brunch with Joe Johnson, and now we're going to play a track from my new CD, Chaos and Creation in the Backyard. Here's English Tea. So I could use that, but then I could use the first 8 seconds,
Dirty tricks, the best. The best. Absolutely the best.
Great. Wow.
So I was able to get liners from him, which are fantastic,
Have you seen the video of him telling the dirty joke?
I think I saw it on YouTube.
Yeah.
I think I did see it on YouTube.
It's so weird to hear him use profanity. It's like, it's so jarring. I mean, of all jokes to tell that particular one, it was just so great. And he does a pretty good job of telling the joke too.
Have you seen the one where he's got a jug band and they're doing these parodies?
No.
Yeah.
No. Oh yeah. Good. They're in the backyard.
Are they? Yeah. Are they about COVID?
Well, they didn't have COVID back then. I think it's the swine flu.
What's been cool on YouTube is I think it's because the new Let It Be movie is coming out.
Yeah.
And there's all these different little videos or just audios of them working on music that ended up on their solo albums. Mm-hmm. Where you know what I mean? Like Paul singing Another Day.
Uh-huh.
And
Junk and George has Isn't It a Pity, and
All Things Must Pass.
All Things Must Pass, and
and that's kind of cool to think. Wow, that's where they would have gone if they stayed together, like they were.
That would have been on Let It Be. That would have been the album.
Yeah.
I mean, there were certain songs that they famously went on about that they hated, like the other Beatles hated Maxwell's Silver Hammer. They just hated it. And I think John doesn't even play on it, or they just were over it, And then, of course, George would tell the story, well, Paul, we had to do 100 bloody takes of that song, Or George would say, George would say, oh, Paul, I've got a new song. And Paul goes, oh, I've got one too. And it goes like this. And then, so George felt like he never got his tunes in, and that's why he had that gigantic, purge of the All Things Must Pass, the 3 album set, so much stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. John, even there was a story where John he hated Obladi.
Right.
And Paul just kept trying to work and John sat at the piano and went, just do this. Boom, boom. And they were like, oh, that works. And that was it. They were done with it.
Yeah, because otherwise it was like this reggae tune, you know?
Yeah.
So, that's what was great. And the other thing we were talking about when they would produce, they would go to George Martin with stuff that was musically incorrect. And he'd go, well, you know, boys, that's a fifth, and you shouldn't end a song on a. And they go, well, we want to do that. Or, you know, the Good Morning, it changes tempo from a 4/5 to, I mean, I'm not a musician, but I can't play the jug band or anything. But it goes different time signatures, you know, throughout the song.
You see what you did, Rob Bartlett? You see what you did?
I just love even now the guests know to make fun of Richie.
I mean, why did I invite you on, Rob?
I awoke the sleeping giant. That's all. That's all I did. I awakened the sleeping giant.
He's the instigator over here.
I'm nodding like I'm in the interview. What was I going to say? Now you guys throw me off of the job.
All right, I have one more. I have a question I wanted to ask you guys, and then I might have to bounce because I have a something I got to do with the press thing. But well, I'm sorry, I didn't want to say it, but then I thought I would hate to say I have to go.
I'm more important than the three of you. So
okay, listen. So I'm more important than the three of you. So I'm going to ask one more question.
Because I have an interview with Country Music Revival.
Who in you guys' mind, and this can be either because they're directly a descendant from the Beatles or because they're innovative like the Beatles were, who in your mind is a band that came after them that you can compare them to? Like, I know like Oasis was like a big thing where they always kept comparing them to the Beatles, but they don't nearly have the body.
I never felt Oasis was Beatley really that much.
Yeah.
But I have to give the Oasis a shout out because I knew of the Beatles and I appreciated the Beatles, but it was the direct talk on MTV News about Oasis and the Beatles that made me take a deep dive into the Beatles to then start to really appreciate them as much as I did, where before I was just like, yeah, they had a lot of hits. They're a good band. Where then after Oasis compared themselves to them, I went, okay, I'm going to take a listen to the B-sides. I'm going to listen to and then I really love them. But what bands in you guys' mind?
I would say maybe in the beginning, Badfinger, and they tell a funny story too because they got signed by Apple. They were the first band signed by Apple, and then James Taylor was the first American artist signed by Apple. And one of them made a comment in the paper. They go, "Hey, you must be great being with Apple." He goes, we've been with Apple. They haven't done a bloody thing for us, the Beatles, you know." And Paul McCartney got really pissed, and he did that demo of "Come and Get It." He put it on a cassette. He drove over to the lead singer's house, knocked on the door. He goes, "Here, no, nothing from the Beatles. Here you go. Record this. Do it just like this, and you'll have your first hit." And McCartney actually produced it for him, and it was. Yeah. So
I mean, there's no band that will ever come even close to being as influential or as genius as the Beatles. I mean, there are Beatlesque sounding bands that were inspired. I mean, ELO, John called ELO.
I love ELO.
ELO's based really around Walrus, really the whole band,
Yeah, and Cheap Trick is a very
for sure
Beatle influenced band. But there's no other band that you can compare him to. I mean, Prince was pretty much about as good as you can get in terms of being a musical genius.
And his songs are so varied, which is what the Beatles did.
Exactly. And I don't know if you've ever seen. I'm sure you've seen it, Joe, and I recommend this to you, Mark, because I'm sure that Richie's seen it. Prince, I think it was at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame when
that whole big play out of
they did "While My Guitar Gently Weeps," and Prince plays the lead solo, and then when he's done, he just throws the guitar down, and it's like you throw it down because nobody is going to play that any better. And
Rob, a friend of mine, I never saw it, but a friend of mine told me he saw an interview with Clapton after that years, and they said to Clapton, what's it like to be considered the greatest guitarist in the world? He said, I don't know, ask Prince.
Wow.
The most amazing. I mean, it's
So
just flames are coming off his fingers. It's just
Oh my God, it's just amazing. Yeah.
I think for me, rather than a band, I get real pleasure. I'm a huge Frampton fan and Gary Wright. I graduated in the 70s. And so when I hear Frampton play live Norwegian Wood or something, to me, that's like, wow, that's a guy that lived it, heard Love Me Do for the first time when he was like 16 and knew what he wanted to do. Same with Gary Wright when he does stuff that's Beatley. And I know that they live in it.
Yeah. And I think somebody who you hear who's I think is completely influenced is Lenny Kravitz. If you listen to Lenny,
huge Beatle fan.
So much Beatles in what he's doing.
He's a huge Beatle fan.
Yeah. So Mark, I know you have to get going. And Joe, do you mind staying for a few more minutes?
No, man, I'm having a ball.
But our other show.
Don't you have to go, Richie?
I have to go soon, but not. I can stay for about 10 more minutes or so.
You sure? Because I can cover for you.
Rob would be happy to take over.
I'm here. You don't have to stick around. Joe and I can really talk without the rest periods in between. About I don't know how I could interview a Beatle. It's just I don't know how you can interview anybody.
Elizabeth, thanks for listening. I just want to tell you guys, I love you. Thank you, Joe, for coming on. Rob, thank you for coming on. Richie, I will see you Friday where we talk comic strip and Richie Tinkin.
Get out.
Mark, how can I catch your film? Where can is it going to be on sale this weekend online somewhere?
On the 19th, it opens. And you're in Fort Lauderdale, right?
Yeah. I think the internet's everywhere.
Yeah. Well, it opens streaming in May.
Oh, not till May. Gotcha. Okay,
Yeah.
so no theaters.
This is the theater release, but I'll be in touch with you. We'll be in touch.
Great.
I want to check out the website too.
And we're gonna want
I got it.
We're gonna want you back without Rob Bartlett. So.
All right, guys. Thanks.
Mark, I'll talk to you later. Thanks.
Thanks, Mark. Great to meet you, man. Awesome.
Great to meet you.
So, Joe, tell us really quick.
Finally, God Almighty.
Tell us about the cruise.
Oh yeah, I got really lucky that I get to host these music themed cruises. And actually, speaking of Frampton, we had him on the 70s Rock and Romance cruise a couple of years ago.
Wow.
And so we have a 70s one, February 19th through 26th. Foreigner, Air Supply, 10cc, The Guess Who, Jim Messina, Melissa Manchester, Badfinger with Joey Molland, the only member left. War, BJ Thomas. And it's great. It's 2000. I don't know what the situation is going to be like. Hopefully everybody will have their shots by then, by February of 2022 for the 70s cruise. But the one that got it started is the Flower Power cruise, and that's coming back. And that's got the Zombies, John Lodge of the Moody Blues. He plays 2 hours of Moody Blues tunes. Felix Cavalari's Rascals, Procol Harum, the Yardbirds, Guess Who, Association, the Raiders. I mean, that's a rockin' beginning.
Can I just say something?
Yeah.
We have one of the members of the Pandemics, my band, the Bluegrass Band. Michael Weinstein was the harmonica player on Groovin'.
Oh, on the original Groovin' with Felix? Wow.
Yeah, but I don't want to bring it up because Rob gets mad, but that's the truth.
I don't get mad. It's just there's you have talented people in your band.
I think you should bring a bluegrass parody band on your cruise. I think that would really kill.
We're doing the Bluegrass cruise in 2025.
See, but the joke is Bluegrass is a parody already.
We'll call it Beatles grass.
Yeah, there you go. They did plenty of grass in their day.
Yes, they did.
It wasn't blue. It was more brown or green.
When is the cruise? I missed that. I know it's in 2022, but do you have a date?
Yeah. The 70s one is February 19th for a week. And the Flower Power is March 28th for a week. And, it's easy if you just go to Flower Power Cruise or rockandromancecruise.com, they come up and
what cruise
the website. It's it's a charter. So the Star Vista, which they're Time Life Music, they chart the whole ship. They put up their own sound crew. They bring their own lighting. They set up their own stages. The only people that stay from it's celebrity are the servers basically and the workers.
Wow.
So it's all staffed by hundreds of their staff. And the celebrity ship, they don't have the name, so I don't know if they're going to switch ships because of what's happened in the cruise industry. But usually it's 2,000 passengers. So this year it'll probably be 200. No, it'll be 2,000. We'll get them all. Everybody will get vaccinated. I'm sure that's going to be the criteria. Everybody has to be vaccinated.
Right. Right.
So yeah, it'd be great if you guys ever wanted to come on. Get the,
absolutely. I'm seriously thinking about it. So. I really so you were the Beatles always just your band, or were there other bands that meant as much to
you? As a kid I was 6 when they were on Ed Sullivan, so I was into all the bubblegum music and the Archies and the Monkees and all that other stuff as well. So I was into the Beatles. I didn't really understand the John and Yoko thing because I was like 12 and I couldn't understand how he could leave the band and go with this crazy lady and stuff. And he was doing LSD and they were doing naked album covers. And I go, this certainly isn't the Fab Foreskin. I don't know what this is trying to be here. So, but I kind of fell off around that point but I was a huge Wings fan because Paul brought it back with hit after hit after hit after hit.
Yeah, I mean, I was about 13 when Wings really took off.
Yeah.
So for me, that was, I mean, I knew that I had that Beatles album that my father brought, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh my God, listen to this. And I think Venus and Mars and Band on the Run was the first for me. And then Venus and Mars, and I was just blown away by, I mean,
it's a great album.
If you go see Paul McCartney in concert, you walk away going, he could do another 2 hours and not repeat one song that he just did and give you another complete show of amazing music. Right. I mean, it's so weird. It's just, it's hard to believe.
It's funny because in Wings Over America, he only played like 5 Beatle tunes on the whole concert. Yeah. And then when I saw him in 1990 here in South Florida, he does like an hour and a half. He just starts ripping into All My Lovin' and Back in the USSR and Yesterday and Here, There, and Everywhere. I mean, that was like, wow, the best of both worlds.
I know a lot of the songs he can do now because electronically it's better. He talks about that. There were a lot of songs he just couldn't do in the 70s that he can do now because everything's so much better now.
And I think they sample, like when they do even when Ringo does Yellow Submarine, you can hear, I think they're sampling the record with all Mr. Captain and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Well, so, but 2.5 hours, McCartney, no opening act. I did last time I went to the sound check thing, it's pretty good, but they make you stand way back because people were bringing their albums with their Sharpies and stuff. So you're like about 100 yards back. You almost have to watch the monitors, but it's good because they just do Elvis tunes and they just warm up. It's really fun. Yeah. Wow. And they'll talk to the audience, kind of a thing.
Yeah. I love when he goes out into the audience and he reads their posters.
Oh, their signs. Yeah.
I almost know how to play Blackbird. He said when I saw him. Yeah. Brooklyn was doing 8 days a week. That was another one.
That concert I saw, the sound check, some guy came up and wanted to play Get Back. He had it, and they gave him a guitar, and he played Get Back with the friggin' band. I don't know how he put it together. It was some kind of request or something. And he was great. He got a great standing we had to stand anyway. He got an already standing ovation. So
now, speaking of which, I'm going to say something that is a little morbid.
Okay.
But do you feel like if one of them had to pass in 1980, do you feel like had it been Paul and not John, that we wouldn't have the Beatles boom that we still have 40 years later, in that Paul has no problem going out every year, touring, bringing the music, doing interviews. John would have never done that.
He did a bunch of interviews in his last couple of months. He did the one at for the BBC, and he did the one down at the Dakota. And what they said, and when I interviewed Yoko one time, she said, we were going to go on tour with Double Fantasy and our back catalog, and John was going to come out and get on one knee and sing "I Want to Hold Your Hand" to me, and she'd be sitting in a chair or something. So I think they might have done some, but I think they were really into their own crazy thing, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, Double Fantasy had a lot of hits on it, so that would have been good. But
but I'm just saying that Paul really has kept it alive for the last 20 years.
I think he kept it alive in the band. If you listen to Ringo, he goes, you know, Paul's always the one that said, I was in the garden smoking with Clapton or whatever. And Paul says, come on, let's make an album. We got to go back in the studio. So then John and Ringo just would have sat in the garden counting their money, I guess.
Well, Ringo tells a story about sitting in John's garden, and the phone would ring, and they would know by the ring that it was Paul. It had a different ring. He says he just was more annoying. The ring would be, and we go, that's Paul. It's time to go back to work. But it's just, you know, I just think that that's an interesting point is that, you know, Paul can and just keeps bringing the Beatles to you all the time. You know, thank God. You know, man's almost 80. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, Ringo's. Oh, I don't know if you saw Ringo. He's got a new. I guess he got a hairdryer. His hair's all different. It's like all poofed up. So either that or he bought a convertible. He's he's
got an EP coming out, isn't he?
He's got the EP coming out tomorrow, Friday. Yeah, actually. But he's the All-Star Band. I mean, he finally kept one. They're all together for 9 years, and they were going to be touring last year, obviously. So, I mean, I don't know if George. I mean, in the 70s, 80s, George did that. They called it the Dark Horse tour because his throat was so hoarse. So he did that one tour in 74, and then he did the show in Japan, and you know, you'd see him on a Crockett special or something like that. And maybe Lennon may have done something like that. We would just had sprinklings of things, and I can't imagine Lennon doing "I Want to Hold Your Hand" or "Love Me Do."
Oh, right, exactly.
I mean, he might have done his tracks from the White Album. He might have done "Mother" or something.
He did do "I Saw Her Standing There" with Elton John.
Yeah, with Elton, right? Yeah, at Madison Square
Garden. It's a great story.
Yeah, it's a great story
about you know whatever gets you through the night if it goes to #1 and all that.
Yeah.
I don't know. Go ahead.
I was going to say it's funny that I got a bunch of crap for this one time, but I was thinking of Lennon because whatever gets you through the night. May Pang said, you know, there was a talk show on TV at night, and he loved it in New York, and that was the guy's thing. Okay, whatever gets you through the night. See you next time or whatever. And John loved that line. And then I started thinking, you know, there's so many songs of his that he, like McCartney, could make up. You know, Vera, Chuck, and Dave, and all these people. And Lennon was like, almost any one of his songs, you can figure out where it came from. Like, you know, Lucy in the Sky was the painting from Julian. Benefit of Mr. Kite. I've got the poster in my hallway. You know, there's so many things that Lennon pulled upon real experiences for. There you go. There you go, Mr. Kite. One of only 3 songs the Beatles did that has an exclamation point in it. There's your trivia question. Help and Oh Darling, I think, are the other 2.
Oh Darling? Okay.
I think O has the exclamation point.
Yes, it does.
There's a lot of even if you look at Sgt. Pepper, he in A Day in the Life, he talks about blew his mind out in a car that based on a real story they saw in the paper, and 4,000 Holes in Blackburn, Lancashire, and Good Morning. He's pulling riffs from the Cornflakes commercial, and Meet the Tea and Meet the Wife was the show. So he was definitely inspired by what he was seeing and hearing. And I think Paul is the one that had this crazy imagination. Yellow Submarines and things like that. And that's really, I think that's kind of like really what made them blend. One was really out there and one was really pop, you know. To simplify it, it may not be that easy.
Right. It's interesting too how the yin and yang of each other was just phenomenal. You know, well, John even talked about, and We Can Work It Out, how Paul wrote that, try to see it my way. And John was the one who came up with Life is Very Short. He goes, right there. Life is very short. That's so me. And the other part is so Paul. We can work it out, and of course it's getting better all the time.
Yeah,
couldn't get much worse. You know, it's John's little contribution. So,
well, that's, you know, we talked about interviewing Paul. He told me that, which you guys already know, but the audience may not know. He told me the story of the Hey Jude line. He goes, you know, I got to that part. The movement you need is on your shoulder. He goes to John, I'll be changing that. It's just a placeholder, you know. And John says, no, that's the best line in the song. So, you know, when Lennon tells you that, you can't change it, you know, even if it, you know.
I heard an early version of Something where George was doing that. And George was just something in the way she moves. And he's playing. He goes, I don't have anything here. And John goes, makes me want an avocado. And
That's it. You got to. Well, that was the scrambled eggs thing. You know, you got to
Yeah.
put something there to fill the verses until you come up with the real thing.
I'll tell you a funny story about scrambled eggs. Paul, I used to work across the hall from Jimmy Fallon's show,
Yeah.
and Paul was on Fallon, and Jimmy knew I was a huge. Jimmy and I always talk music. We never talk comedy, which was funny. But Jimmy knew I was just a huge McCartney freak, and Jimmy sings scrambled eggs with Paul on the
Yeah.
show.
I've seen it. It's brilliant.
Yeah, and then they do tofu.
The tofu wings and all that. Yeah. Yeah.
So
yeah.
the next day I ran into Jimmy in the hall and he said to me, "What'd you think of Paul?" And I go, "You know what I couldn't get past?" I said, "I couldn't get past the fact that you got to sing scrambled eggs with Paul McCartney." I go, "Probably the last person that sang scrambled eggs was John Lennon. Like whoever, you know, people have probably sung Yesterday, but you sang and Jimmy goes, "I'm so glad I didn't see you before the show." It freaked me out so much.
Yeah, I think Jimmy has the best song parody type stuff on his program. Remember when he does his Neil Young or he does his Bruce Springsteen? He's just brilliant. He's just brilliant. You know,
He is.
really.
He is. He's no Pandemics, but he's good.
No, he's not the Pandemics. No,
No.
but he won a Grammy for that album, by the way, Jimmy, for the one that has I think it was "Blow Your Socks Off" or something, where he put all those song parodies on it.
Yeah. You know what else I love? When he takes the little kids' toys and brings in the musicians and they do.
Yeah, with his band. Yeah.
He's really a talented guy, Jimmy Fallon.
You know, and speaking of the late night guys, I watched the Netflix special from Seth Meyers. It was really good. I had never seen his stand up for long form. It was like, you know, really, really good. Yeah.
Interesting. So, Rob, you have any questions?
Who's your favorite Beatle?
I would just have to say, only because I had a good interaction with McCartney and he's still playing today. I mean, I have a soft spot for all of them, obviously. What about you?
Jimmy Nicol.
Jimmy Nicol, not Pete Best. I thought you weren't going to go for the Pete Best.
No, I figured Jimmy Nichol's a little bit more obscure, and you're the only person in the world who would probably get that reference.
Andy White would have something to say about that.
Andy White. But I mean, the fact that Jimmy Nicol actually got to play with them in concert in Amsterdam when Ringo had tonsillitis, that to me is, and not too many people know that story, you know?
Yeah, and you probably know the book that was written by my friend Jim Burke. Jim Burke, tried to track down Jimmy Nicol, and
Really?
the watch that they gave him when he left the band, Brian Epstein or the Beatles gave him a gold watch, and somebody knocked on his door and tracked him down and wanted to see it, and he brought the watch to the door. This is like 10 years ago or 15, whatever, and he had smashed the crap out of it, and he had it in a bag, and it was all smashed, and he gave it to the guy. So he's not a fan of his 13 days with the Beatles, Jimmy Nicol.
Wow, I missed that because I don't know what happened.
We were talking about the fill-in drummer that played in Australia.
I didn't even know you'd gone.
What? Why does he have a problem with the Beatles?
Well, I don't think he was happy about the way they said goodbye. They took him Brian Epstein drove him to the airport at like 5 a.m. and there's I'll find the book. It's here. There's a picture of him sitting in the terminal all by himself at like 5 a.m. There's nobody around, and he's waiting to get on a flight back from Australia to London, I guess. So I think he tried to capitalize on the fame a little bit in the beginning, and then I think he got tired of talking about it, and he basically vanished. So it's called The Beatle Who Vanished. That's what it's called, by Jim Birkenstadt.
Oh wow.
And he tries to track down Jimmy Nicol. He went all over the world, and he got a lot of good pieces of it. I don't think he actually met up with them.
Wow.
I mean, he may not be alive anymore. I mean, whether.
Yeah. Hey, Tom, you want to jump in here, Tom?
Yes. How is everybody? What's going on?
Hey, Tom.
This was great. I have to get going, but this was great. And I know you want to. We want to plug a couple of things before we go. Joe, we really want to have you back.
Anytime. I love it. I get to work out a little comedy. I really enjoy it.
Yeah. You were so great, Rob. It was great. It's your last show, but thank you. No, Rob, you're invited anytime. We love you. You're one of our favorites, and we love the way you give me shit. But Mark has a new movie coming out. He's a producer, Dark State, this Friday. It'll be in select theaters around the country. Right,
Yes,
John? Is there anything I'm forgetting? It's called Dark State. And
Yeah, Mark launches this weekend in theaters in 7 different major cities throughout the country at AMC theaters. He's sold out already in New York because I was trying to get tickets to it.
Yeah.
Already,
Yeah.
Is he in the film or did he produce it and direct it?
He's the producer on that film.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's super interesting. I'm looking forward to that. And then also we have so many great guests coming on this week still. So we have tonight, we have the legendary Wid joining Hi, I'm Jason, which is going to be a lot of fun. Possibly the greatest prop comic of our generation.
Who Carrot Top owes his career to.
yes,
Indeed, right? So I think that's a great one.
the original Carrot Top.
The original Carrot Top. And then we have John Poveromo's coming on with Eric D'Alessandro, that he is a viral sensation that does all of those typical Staten Island viral videos that are all over the place. He'll be on tonight at around 8:30, I believe. And then we also have the lead singer from the Young Dubliners in
Very
honor
cool.
of St. Patty's Day. Yeah, I think that's going to be
Busy
fun.
right now.
That's just today. And then tomorrow we have Dex Carvey coming on Dystopia. On Friday, we have Bruce Valanche, which I'm really excited about.
Yeah.
Gary Allen.
Yeah, with Gary Allen on Main Street. And then we also have the roundtable that's going off with the memorial to Richie Tinkin.
Yeah, and tomorrow, Tom, I can't believe, at 3 o'clock,
Sorry.
we have a new show that, Rob, we're going to want to have you on. It's called The Word Is, and Buddy Fitzpatrick is hosting it. And remember, we did it on the telethon, Rob, where they were taking words and then turning them into comedy bits.
Mhm.
So we're going to start doing that, and we're kind of making it into a game show.
Oh, cool.
We'd love to have you as a guest in the future.
Sure.
And so it's a good week. We got an action-packed week of shows.
Who's on
Now,
the
do you will this show also be archived for people to watch?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
I can get the link
Tom
and
will-
shout
Tom
it
will
out.
get through all that. Yeah.
All right, that'd be
What
good.
were you thinking, Rob?
Who's on the roundtable for Richie?
Tom Cotter, Al Ducharme, a number.
Bernadette
If
Wally.
you want to come in, we're bringing in outside. If you want to come in,
No, I might jump on. Yeah, I mean,
yeah, we'd love you to jump on. We're
I
doing
love
that.
Richie. I
Any-
love
No
Richie.
nipples, no nipples on the show.
No nipples.
Oh, then forget it.
But this is a great show, Rob. Thank you so much for coming in like this.
My pleasure. Thank you. Nice meeting you, Joe. Big fan.
Too, Rob. I want to get all everybody's contact if they want to do the website thing. I'll hook you up.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I'll put you in touch with Rob.
Anything for
Yeah.
free.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't say free. No, just kidding.
That'd be even better.
I'm sure we can work on a deal.
He knows you're in radio, Joe. You can't even fake it. So
I would love if Joe was like, here, I want to give you all the website, and then we just got a bill in the mail to each of us.
Yeah.
I have a little vial of Stu Sutcliffe's sweat that I can give. you.
Yes.
I do have a piece of John Lennon's hair that a friend of mine gave me for my birthday years ago, somewhere around here. So it's all
Wow.
like in frame and
Wow.
everything. Yeah. But guys, this is a great show. Thank you so much. Next week on the show, we have Vanessa Hollingshead. So it's going to be a wonderful show next week, 3 on Drink Strokes and Storytelling. But right now, thank you for watching. Keep watching. Keep supporting the channel. Thank you so much. We'll see you soon.
Have a great night, guys.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Joe.